Hello everyone, welcome to your second Bash scripting tutorial. So Bash, actually in computers in general, there's this notion, there are two different kinds of paths. And let me just briefly define a path. A path is a way of referring to a file or a folder, basically an address. So this has this folder that I'm in, tutorial, let me show you. This one, tutorial, has what's called an absolute path. So the absolute path is just it's an address that is independent of who is calling it that. So if I say something is at user Philip Peterson tutorial, that is at specific location in the file system. It doesn't matter where I am. If I'm in slash and I say it's in if I'm in my home directory and if I say it's at that place, then someone else can easily find it wherever they are. If I say it's just in tutorial, then that's a problem because if they're in slash, and then they try to move into tutorial, there's no folder called tutorial inside slash. There's only there's only these. So these are the only files and folders inside of slash, and none of those include tutorial. But if they first go into users, and then they go into my home directory, and then they go into tutorial, then they can get there. So, and likewise, if they're in users, then there's a different path. The path to it is Philip Peterson /tutorial. There's no users in front of it because we're already in users. So, so the thing is that absolute paths begin with a slash to indicate that they start from the root directory. And then every other path is called a relative path because and it doesn't start with a slash, it just starts with the name of the folder that you want to go into. So so if I'm in tutorial and now I try cd Philip Peterson I'm sorry, if I'm inside tutorial and then I do Philip Peterson, if I run that command again, it will fail because this doesn't start with a slash, so it's a relative path. But if I were saying to cd into this this path, it would involve first, looking inside of the folder called Philip Peterson that would have to be inside of this folder, but there is no such folder. If I make new directories, like let's see, I just create a new folder inside here, and then inside of that I make another one. It's not inside yet, but I'll move it in. So now that we've got Philip Peterson /tutorial inside of tutorial, then yes, we can run Philip Peterson tutorial, and now we're inside this absolute path. So notice it has a different absolute path than just this. So this is an absolute path, and a relative path kind of depends on where you are. Like right now, if I were in Philip Peterson, if it was in the second Philip Peterson, then the path to tutorial would just be tutorial. So ls tutorial. And that would list all the files inside of tutorial. But if I were in the above directory, if I was in this tutorial, then the path to tutorial would be Philip Peterson /tutorial. And likewise, if I'm in users, by the way, this moves up two directories at once. Now, if I'm in users and I do Philip Peterson /tutorial, the path would be this: Philip Peterson /tutorial /Philip Peterson /tutorial. So that's how absolute paths and relative paths work. So, yeah. Now, what I said before, if you want to delete a whole directory, you have to do rn-r. And that's if you don't want to go through and delete every file by hand, like rendir all the empty directories, and then, or remove all the files from the non-empty directories and then rendir the directories, so that you have to explicitly do everything so you don't accidentally delete something you didn't mean to. Or you can just do rn-r and then the name of the file. By the way, I've been thus far completing, anytime I have a really long path or a file name that I want to that I don't want to type out, like if I want to say I want to, this is a command that prints out the contents of something. So if I wanted to print out, and all these files are empty, so it's not going to print anything, but if I do cat, which stands for concatenate, but if I do cat and then the name of the file, and I don't want to type out what's up, like .html, the whole thing, I can just type in wha and then like hit tab, and it automatically auto-completes. And then you can just hit enter. So that's a nifty thing, tab. Also, if you just hit tab a few times, it will, I guess you have to hit it twice relatively fast, and then it'll say display all 676 possibilities. It will be a different number for you. But you can say yes or no. And you say yes, then it just prints out every single possible command for your computer. So, I mean, this is a lot of commands. So, I mean, it's not entirely useful, but it does autocomplete commands. Like if I did L and then I did tab, then it would offer all the possibilities for L. And I think ls might not even be on here because ls is a special command. It's part of bash. Oh, nope, there it is. It's not part of bash. However, echo, I believe, is, but it will still list it. So yeah, you can just use, it'll autocomplete things that even aren't commands, which is interesting. But so tab is your friend. It will save you a lot of time. And if I were in the root directory, which is just /, and I wanted to get into that previous, I wanted to get into a really complicated path, like volume / bootcamp, and like, you know, I can just hit tab and it lists all the files that I could add to the end of this command. And let's see, documents and settings, and then I can hit tab. Well, there's no more. So you don't have to type out a lot of stuff if you do the tab completion, which is nice. It makes life easy. And also, hitting just CD will just move you to your home directory. CD with nothing after it. Which, by the way, when you type in a command like CD, and you type something after it, the thing that you type after it is called an argument. And some commands take multiple arguments, like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Well, echo is a good example, but it can be a little bit misleading. So echo just prints out whatever you pass into it. So if I type in hello, it'll print out hello. If I type in what is up, it'll print out what is up. But the trick is that it's not taking this string of text as a whole. It's taking the individual parts of it and printing each of the, so if I put in a bunch of spaces, it won't know about the spaces because all it sees is the spaces as is separators between these individual words. So it'll take, you know, what I typed as that. So it'll just print one space because it sees each of the individual arguments. Well, what's the first argument? What? And then what's the second argument? Is. And then what's the third argument? Up. So it'll just print out what is up. It doesn't care about the spaces. It doesn't even know about the spaces. So another command you can run is ps, and there's the format for whatever comes after ps is a very complicated, fairly complicated, set of instructions to understand how to use it exactly. So I'm just going to tell you that psx prints your users, all the processes that your user is currently running, which interestingly includes psx, which I think that's kind of cool. But so it just prints out, this is the path to the executable that you're running, and then this is the process ID. I'm not sure what these things are. I think this might be no, that can't be how long it's been running. But yeah, so all kinds of interesting information. It says time. I'm not really sure what that means, but whatever. So PSX will print that. Now, so that would be, X is an argument to PS. And you can say, as a result, you can just put as many spaces there as you want, and it'll do the exact same thing. And man lets you know about what it does. If you do man ps, it'll explain how to use it. And so this is the whole specification for how to specify all the arguments. So you can type ps, and then you can optional, these brackets mean it's optional. You can type in either a dash and any of these letters or any combination thereof. So I could do ps dash AAC, and so that's what this syntax means. Or I could type in ps dash AACCEEFGFHJL, etc. But this entire thing is optional, and then we can do we can also do -O and then some kind of format. The fact that it's the format is underlined means that there's a special section about it later. So if you scroll down and you search for format, well, they explain it somewhere. They don't apparently refer to it as FNT, but it's explained somewhere. Or we can do a lowercase o, which presumably does something different. But that's also optional, the whole thing. And the bar, the vertical bar, means you can do either this thing or you can do this thing. Usually not both. Sometimes both, though. And this means we can optionally type dash uppercase G and then a GID. And then this whole syntax with the ellipses and like the nested brackets means that you can do a comma-separated list of GIDs, and it can be like as many as you want. That's what the ... means. So that's kind of an obtuse syntax, but it's short. You see this kind of thing all the time in the man pages. And so this means the same thing. You can also do -U and then user. And interestingly, I guess they don't say explicitly that you don't have to have the dash before these, but apparently you don't, so it's an interesting thing. Apparently, I guess I could have just done ps-x and it would have done the same thing. So that's just an interesting thing. That's definitely unique to PS, though. I mean, not unique, but it's a special thing about PS. Not every command is like that. And interestingly, you can also do man and read about how to use the manual. So, and you've got the same kind of instructions up here. Okay, so now we know how to use the manual and how to use ls and cd and etc. So I'm going to move into my tutorial, and let's see, how much time do we have left? Real quick. Well, apparently I don't even have a readout, so I'm just going to stop here and we'll continue in the next tutorial.